Well, boy, howdy, do we have an episode today. Boy, howdy, do we have an episode today. Okay, we have an excellent connection, it says we have an excellent connection. Hello, and welcome to Faith in Humanity with Marty Stauffer. The episode of the Grim Grizz live stream event brought to you by the Virtually Not Alone, which is us. Ta-da! Today we have a big, huge episode. So, first and foremost, let me get the savings throws out of the way. As it happens, anytime your face is pointed at the device, you are exposing yourself to mind control. But here at the Grim Grizz live stream experience, you get a savings throw to resist or take half damage. From said mind control, you need a 10. In order to get a 10, you choose a die, either the survival, social, wisdom, or heart die, and then I roll it. And if you get a 10, you take half damage from the mind control. Ha! Survivalist with a nat 20. You're doing fine today. Socialist with a 14. Ah! Okay, whatever you guys had, it's over now. Socialist with a 14. Wisdom with a 10. And now, heart also with a 10. You guys are all going to be taking half damage from the mind control that follows. The mind control that follows is intense and may require some onboarding, which I will have to do. Meanwhile, I have been accused of my content being too corner specific, and the corner will be explained during the onboarding. But since that accusation has been thrown at me, I've called in some help from my good friend Marty Stauffer to service my prior to Vanderclay exposure subscribers who feel left out with all this corner focus. Here he is. Marty, take it away.
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm Marty Stauffer.
Okay, thanks. Whatever your name was. Okay, so now this is a very big and special episode tonight because I have to do something that's very difficult for me. And in order for you to understand the backstory behind why I have to do this thing that's very difficult for me, you need to understand that there's this dude named Jordan Peterson who is kind of a thing. And okay, first he was kind of a thing because he showed a lot of people that were kind of cool with watching lectures of like college lectures on YouTube. Like that's a thing we'll do. And then he was kind of a thing because he took those lectures to lecture halls and made it about the Bible. And like atheists were interested in the Bible, and so all of Christianity peed its pants, and he became a thing because of that. And then, and all of this is on YouTube for people to eat. And they eat, and it tells the algorithm when they want Peterson associated things. And so Peterson associated things became channels, such as Paul Vanderklay, who discussed his impact on the Christianity and whatnot. Somehow, I ended up on this Paul Vanderklay's channel. And he supports a much larger audience of mine by doing like really long commentaries on all sorts of videos, but often Peterson stuff, often Vervaeke stuff, and often Pajot stuff. And they kind of talk to him. They have this fancy Thunder Bay event they're going to together. Anyway, he's on vacation right now, and he has this audience starving for really long content. And this morning, I wake up to this tweet here. Oh, hey guys, just a second. I wake up to this tweet here. Where am I? Wait. Come here. Oh no, look what you did. Look what you did. Relax. Grab it. Make it bigger. There you go. Okay. My videos are an opportunity to break the fourth wall, as Grimgriz points out. I'm not in a place I can do it. So watching this excellent conversation with Jordan Peterson, Jonathan Pajot, and John Vervaeke gets frustrating right now. And so I don't know how anybody else would take it. But I am taking it as him tapping me to do the commentary he would do on this really long-ass video with these three guys from the corner. It tagging me in, literally, on Twitter to take care of his people starving for this sort of content. I think. Maybe. So that's the really difficult thing I'm going to do. I like to do like 20, 30 minutes and bounce. But this thing he's asking of me, well, that's why I need Marty's help.
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm Marty Stauffer.
Oh, with the laying, do you see that one? With them laying down? Let's leave it there.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. Okay. Now, before I get into this thing I'm going to do, this horribly long commentary on this video for the wonderful people of Paul Vanderklay's pastoral ponderings, pervasively on YouTube, like near daily when he's not on vacation. For those people, before I get into the thing I'm doing for them, let me tell you, well, first let me say hello to everybody, because what we do here is that we do it live, so there's a hive mind that shows up here and can influence me and the show. We think together, we play together. It's about being more than an audience, climbing up on the fourth wall and participating with the...
Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
Oh, there you are. Chris Petkow is not hearing anything. No sound on the video either. Palpable has good sound. Yes, it was you, Petkow. It was you, Petkow. I'm not Marty Stauffer. Don't volunteer for anything unless it's involved with the Grimgriz YouTube live stream. Faith in Humanity with Marty Stauffer. Okay, oh yes, okay, so before I get to the big long commentary thing I'm gonna do. It's Marty Stauffer in the chat. Oh goodness. I'm glad you have great sound, Marty. Thanks for being in the chat to support us. That's very helpful. Okay, so before today, when I got the tweet, you look so good right there, man. Before I got this tweet here and knew that what I was called to do, like tagged in by my good friend Pastor Paul to do, I was intent on I was all set up to make this faith in humanity video, except it was a Reaper call. A Reaper call. And so now I'm going to do this Reaper call part of the faith in humanity thing, and then the thing for everybody else. Okay? Everybody on board? We're doing. Thank you for being with us, being virtually not alone. Okay, Reaper fellas. Reaper, lobster monkey Reapers. I'm talking to you. Here's the situation. Now, I was fortunate enough to have an appearance on the Meaning Code with Karen Wong.
And that as such, we are in grave danger of being disembodied within ourselves, as there being a disconnect between our bodies and our identities. And that's why I think Paul Vanderklay and friends should push Paintball for Jesus to help re-embody the disembodied youth.
So what is paywall for Jesus? I haven't heard.
Paintball for Jesus.
Oh, paintball. No wonder it didn't make sense.
You can paint the walls as well. Paint the wall for Jesus.
No.
That's fine,
I thought
too.
you said paywall.
Oh, paywall for Jesus. You want the good stuff, you're gonna have to pony up. I have a patron.
That's right. Even on Karen's show, I managed to say I have a patron. And she's a big deal in the corner because she's had Tammy Peterson on.
I had just started doing watercolors, and I'm taking they're all online Zoom courses, of course, but that means I can take a course in Vancouver, and I'm in Toronto, so it's wonderful. So they're teaching me to take a very brush full of paint, and then just slop it on the surface. Just slop it on the surface. Make the surface wet. Then push the paint around, let it run and everything, let it dry, and then look at it. It's a landscape. Where are the trees? Where's the water? Where's the buildings? And you can make and everybody in the class was, not everybody, but some people were very frustrated with it because you are really making an image, like you are making an image out of your chaotic background. We were making images out of our chaotic background, and it takes time and patience, right? And so if people are used to being able to get things done, to put it on paper, to get to the next project, that's not going to work with this. And I mean, after you've done it for a very long time and you're used to it, you start to see the images faster. You start to see what's appropriate for this or that in a clearer way, because you've got so much context now. But at the beginning, when you're doing it, you're fresh and you have to learn to see really for the first time again. And wow, what a great project to be able to learn to see again. You know, I'm 60 years old and I started to learn to see again. Wow.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
Thanks, Marty. So the deal is I have to go back on with Karen, and like in the interim of since my appearance on her last, like the only thing that really qualifies as accomplishment that I can talk about, right, is the blind elephant game. Our Invitational Blind Elephant Game on Divine Masculinity. The Blind Elephant Game is based off of the old ancient wisdom of the five blind guys that grope the elephant. The elephant we're groping tonight is divine masculinity, as featured in this Jordan Peterson clip. So, like, that's really all I have to show for it at this point. So I thought I would do this Faith in Humanity Reaper call to my fellow Reapers. And that's just folks, right, that know how to go into a video and press this clip button here. And make a thing, okay?
Ah,
So any of those Reaper fellows out there,
Initiates, I should say,
What?
refer to ayahuasca as
what?
she.
Stop. So any of my Reaper friends out there, I need your help, and I'm making a call to you for the sake of faith in humanity. I need clips of things that restore your faith in humanity, and so like here, let's do one together, and then you can get one bonus on your own. Human rescue baby sheeps. Here, this one. This'll do. Making me a little nauseous though. But the lamb trusted him. Come on, this way. I'm making you walk, but we're going this way. Alright, come on. Oh, and then that warms my heart. Oh, they don't have the clip button. Never mind. That's a terrible example. Here, I'll just do the thing, but first I need to Chris Petkow for you and go flagellate myself in shame for me. So enjoy this. I'll be right back. It's a worship song.
I close my eyes, and all I can see is you. All I see is you. And times are getting tough, but you're gonna see me through. You always see me through. So I remember the one who I can always call upon, even when I'm calling wrong. You told me to ask and you would always answer, so I'm asking you for something that's important. I'm asking you for one simple thing, and it's all I really need. It's all I really need. So give me this one simple thing, Lord. Give me big balls so that when they gaslight me, I say no, thank you, ma'am. I know who I am. Give me big balls so that when they piss on me and tell me that it's rain, I say no, it ain't. 'Cause I remember the one who I can always call upon, even when I'm calling wrong. Give me big balls so that when they gaslight me, I say no, no thank you, ma'am. I know exactly who I am.
Good. Do you?
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm Marty.
And I'm Grim Grizz. Welcome back to Faith in Humanity. It's not Faith in Humanity with Marty Stauffer. We're now soon. Remember him, buddy. We want what's best for you. There is no agency. All right, now so we're almost to the part of the show We're almost to the part of the show where I do the thing for Paul Vanderklay's people. We'll give them the timestamp for when that starts, so we can just send them straight to there. With the power of the clips you can make on good channels. Sorry about that. That was embarrassing, really. First, I gotta set up shot chaser. Does that help me find it? Hey, it helps me find it. Look at that. It's a topic. Here, this time that we'll have that ready for next time. We'll plug the artist formerly known as. Now, remember, Embody, what we're doing here is we're getting the back of our homeboy, Paul Vanderklay, when he tags me out saying, man, I wish I could make a video on this conversation, but I can't, and I'll mention you. So, to me, that's him saying, hey, make a commentary on this. I will note, where am I? No. I will note that the title of this video that he's calling me out on is Deeper Yet Into the Weeds. Peugeot Vervaeke Peterson. And Deeper Yet Into the Weeds is a personal troll to me, just on par with when Vervaeke and Peugeot got together and did the collective intelligence angels, the little CIA. They're trolling me when they do these things. I'll let you know. So yeah, I guess here we go. The commentary to restore Vanderklay's faith in humanity by doing the commentary video for him with Marty Stauffer.
Marty Stauffer. I'm 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 Marty Stauffer.
One of the things I really found striking about Tammy is she did a very detailed picture of my daughter's surgical wound. I'm still having very much trouble with that because we still have the problem of
So, with only one more further ado, magic. Slopping and what? Betty White restores my faith in humanity. Well, bring me a clip then of anything that restores your faith in humanity, like any good reaper. Faith in humanity clips. A whole string of them. I want to be able to say, hey, Karen, I wasn't able to do much, but I did get this string of things to restore people's faith in humanity. Thanks to the lobstamonkee reapers, who beyond me feel moved by the Spirit to restore others' faith in humanity with the little clippy clip. Pong hole. Palpable. What?
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Good. Okay, what? Deeper into the weeds with these folks.
One of the things I really found striking about Tammy is she did a very detailed picture of my daughter's surgical wound. And that's not an easy thing to look at, right? Because you don't want to look at that. But that also ties in with the ideas we've been discussing about, well, I think that's the crucifixion message,
it's the mystery of the crucifixion.
You bet, right.
All these images that we have, like the beauty of Christ's wounds, all these things which sound so completely
pathological.
To many people, if you can understand them properly, you can understand that's...
You have to gaze on that which most threatens you.
You have to gaze on that which most threatens you. And then it cuts to the music, the Jupiter Symphony, and the symbol that he stared at until the heavens opened before him, and the Holy Spirit came upon him, and he was like, no thanks, as he confessed in the Q&A. Back when? There's my commentary on that, Pastor Paul.
Tell me what they don't understand and to see if I can, learn something as a consequence. That's kind of the hope. And so we'll start with this first proposition. To see the world, we must prioritize our perceptions. So, John, I'll ask you about that first, because that's a particular.
To see the world, we must prioritize our perceptions.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
I believe a particular focus of yours. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Or
No, it's not. That's the core of my work.
First thing I would like for you guys to note is how John is positioned. Instead of he usually has the horses above his head. Do they see that? No. He usually has the horses above his head, but now he's sitting in this victim square, the victim seat, in the sacrificial altar made by the Indians for Dr. Peterson.
And so the main way I would respond to this is I would say, I think the work that's coming out from artificial intelligence and the work that's coming out from attention lines up with this very well. I don't have any significant disagreement with that proposition.
And the must part of it as well? Because
so the must.
What about the mustard, John?
Let me tell you how I took the must.
Yeah.
And I took it as what's called constitutive necessity. I took it to be, if you are going to be a cognitive agent, then you must do this. I didn't take it to be a metaphysical necessity. I took it to be that kind of constitutive necessity.
I think it's useful to.
What if you're going to be a Hollywood agent? Oh, it's a good day. Sound of it.
The band, we're going to sulk, and we can't have them sulk. So Eddie Robertson and Rock Hillman have to come in and help me with this number. This is how we feel today. It's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along. It's a good day. How can anything go wrong? 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. It's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. Oh, you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing. And you've got to ride away. It's a good day for curing your ills. And it's a good day for paying your bills. So take a deep breath and throw away your pills. 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night.
Start with what you discussed
as what's called let me tell you how I took the must.
Yeah.
And I took it as what's called constitutive necessity. I took it to be, if you are going to be a cognitive agent, then you must do this. I didn't take it to be a metaphysical necessity. I took it to be that kind of constitutive necessity.
I think it's useful to start with what you describe as constituent necessities before you move into the realm of metaphysical necessity.
I think that's a good way to argue. You should, right?
At this point, I'm like, okay, what was I talking? Oh, yes, it's like you must prioritize to perceive.
And so I think, and I'm not going to recapitulate all these arguments, but a lot of work, I think, zeroes in on the idea that the core of what makes us intelligent and the thing that we're finding difficult to give to machines to make them artificially general intelligence is a process I call relevance realization, which is exactly, I think, lines up with this very well. The amount of information available to you in the world is astronomically vast, all the things you could pay attention to. The amount of information in your long-term memory, especially if you think of all the ways it could be combined, is also astronomically vast. Right. The number of options of potential lines of behavior. I could move this finger or this finger. I could move them.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Like you, and the ways I can move around.
That's combinatorial explosion.
All of it. And then, right, and then you can also consider, all of the options of different of potential worlds you might want to consider trying to produce or moving into, right? And so the point is, in many different dimensions, we face combinatorial explosion, and what you can't do, and this is where it lines up with the must, because we're finite beings with finite resources and finite.
All right, we've gotten to a can't that lines up with the mustard.
Time. You can't check all of that information. So you can't go and say, no, that's not relevant. That's not relevant. That memory is not relevant. That will take, right, that's the rest of the history of the universe.
Right. So we don't know how we do it, in fact, because of that in part.
Well, I mean, I think there's getting some clues towards it, but we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Right.
So the must and the prioritization on the perception side, you're fine with.
It has to be. It has to be. And here's the tricky thing, which is the fact that we can't check it means, and this sounds almost like a Zen koan, is.
Now, I am not one. I know they exist, that there are experts who have studied what the different Masonic hand symbols mean. I am not one. However, I did see.
The fact that we can't check it means, and this sounds almost like a Zen koan.
Let me show you a little closer to the power of the internet.
The fact that we can't check it means, and this sounds almost like a Zen.
So, at the same time, the Daily Wire signals itself down in the bottom there. We're at the part of the interview where John signals this. I guess it's a shout out to the Buddhists.
The fact that we can't check it means, and this sounds almost like a Zen koan, is the prioritization is odd when you say it sort of like prima facie.
Yeah.
Because it means we intelligently ignore most of the information.
Right.
So the prioritization, what I want to put.
That's a good codicil. So you're saying that you don't.
Well, the mechanism of prioritization is in fact a knowledgeable ignorance of all the stimuli irrelevant to that which we hold dear.
Want to misinterpret the necessity for prioritization as something like the necessity or our ability to make a numbered list of the number of possibilities that lay out in front of us, because that's actually impossible.
Right. So
that isn't how we do it. However we do it, isn't that?
Exactly. So if you're okay with that reading, and it sounds like you are, prioritization doesn't mean what we normally mean by prioritization, where we set things out explicit and focal, and then
where we set. You think what we normally mean by prioritization is setting things out explicit
choose
and
right.
It's implicit. It's implicit, and it's self-organizing, and our ability to think,
and it's unconscious.
Yes, emerges out of it. We can influence it top down, but because it is an absolute requirement.
The thing that guides our attention is our right brain snitch that lives in the now. And it's like, hey, psst, that thing is interesting. And then we take interest in it and analyze our own interest in it. But it comes from the other half of our brain that doesn't speak English.
Requirement for our cognition. I would argue that our ability to do anything that we do consciously is ultimately dependent on it and presupposes it.
Right. Okay, fine. So that's good. Jonathan, you got anything to add to that?
I think the only thing that I would add is you have to phrase it in a certain way. You have to have a sentence.
Icon carver, public speaker, apostle of purpose, Jonathan Pajot.
But there's a sense in which perception, when we say we must prioritize our perceptions, I think the best way to understand it is that perception is already prioritization. In order to perceive, there has to be a hierarchy in itself.
Ooh, you're so much more elegant than John Pajot.
Perception is in and of itself an act of implicit prioritization.
And to use the word implicit would be a good idea, so to avoid the idea that we are consciously doing it, but that in order to even perceive the world, there already has to be a given hierarchy that is making you able to focus on anything. because or else we would be lost in a wave, a sea of infinite detail.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
Okay, so I think that's a good codicil. And so we could also make a little technical case here quickly. So part of the problem that John referred to is that in some sense, it's the problem of the finite confronting the infinite. And so we could make a neurological argument for that. So for example, when you move your eyes around, or when they move around as a consequence of being directed by unconscious structures of prioritization, because that happens all the time.
Unconscious structures of prioritization, or like shit your right brain decides and points you at.
And you move your eyes around because you want to direct the high resolution part of your visual system to whatever you're attending to. That's the fovea. And the fovea is a very small part of...
Oh, the fovea. I like... It's good times to replace the word fovea, which is actually the part of your eye he's talking about, with phobia, because it still makes sense. Who's he? Hey, I saw Frankenstein Wrong Thinker said something. Only missing PVK. Yes, we are missing PVK, and he couldn't do this video, so he asked me to implicitly by making this tweet and tagging me with these people in it. I still haven't finished the Thunder Bay promo. We can talk about that later. R, good to see you. Magic, so glad you're here. Marty, the meeting of divine dandies. Yes. Okay, so this guy is, I don't know if he's an apostle anymore. But the guy to his left is the apostle of purpose, and the guy to his right is the apostle of practice. And the missing Paul Vanderklay is the apostle of people. Just so everybody gets their apostles straight.
Of your retina. And it's a very high resolution part. So each cell...
Welcome to the Faith in Humanity live stream, virtually not alone event. Faith in Humanity with Marty Stauffer. Remember, Embody, we want what's best for you. There is no agency. Panopticon placebo!
In the fovea is connected at the level of the primary visual cortex to 10,000 cells, and then each of those have 10,000 connections. And so if your whole vision was foveal in its resolution, you'd have to have a skull like an alien to contain that much brain. And so...
Speaking of alien brain skulls...
I'm Marty Stauffer.
I have like a personal pet peeve of mine, right? Is like, I don't know why I can't get those guys to point their attention at my good friend Y, not my friend, but I think we're friends on Facebook. In his from 9 years ago, the fractal minds and the sacred cosmology about how the brain works.
Person, but in different part of their life.
I'm totally gonna reap it one day.
So, and that's a real indication of that finitude, right? Is that you do have limited cognitive resources, and limited means practically and physically limited, but it also means metabolically limited. The cost of running your brain is already extremely high, and so you're going to shepherd your available attentional resources because they are finite, and they're finite in no small part because they are.
Yeah, sometimes your brain says that's interesting, and you're like, no.
Technically, metabolically costly. That all seems okay?
So I would add one thing to that, which is I would put an emphasis on how this process has to be self-organizing, because we want to avoid a perennial problem, which you and I both know shows up in psychology, which is to posit the internal homunculus that actually doesn't explain the problem, but just shifts it. The central executive is an example of this, etc. So we don't want to say that there's.
I'd like to point out he's not wearing any
the central
shoes
executive
right now
is an example of this, etc. So we don't want to say that there's someone that's doing the prioritization, because that someone
is just as mysterious,
right? And is facing the very problem that we're trying to explain. So right, the process has to be dynamically self-organized.
One of the ways I've
Your mom is dynamically self-organizing.
Realized how that problem works is in an attempt to solve the mind-body problem, because you can't solve the mind-body problem. But you can say, let's say you want to explore an idea, and you decide to do that by writing an essay. So then you sit down.
If so, go visit my new website I launched with my son about howtowriteanessay.com.
In front of the computer, which is not an idea. It's actually that you're sitting, and then you move your fingers on the keyboard. And so there's a hierarchy of transformation from mind, which might be the abstract intent, to body. And so the spirit hits the body in the finger movements. And then the spirit disappears in some sense.
Are you ready? Is everybody out there ready for your spirit to hit your body in the finger movements? Do it with me now. Ooh, Halen. Ooh. Ooh. Have your spirit hit the body in your finger movements, everybody. Show me you're learning along with the clays.
Under the finger movements, because you can move your fingers voluntarily, but you have no idea what muscles you're moving to do that. And you can't control.
No idea what, unless you've taken an anatomy class, you have no idea what muscles are moving to do it when your fingers move to obey Grimgriz and put things in the chat box.
The cells or anything like that.
Oh, I did that with my students in the lecture this morning.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Talking about this very fact that I said, put up your finger. Okay, bend your finger. What do you do to bend your finger?
Right.
Bend
exactly.
finger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting that you have.
See the tip here? I pull the tip inward, like this. That's what I'm doing. The linguistic narrative self of me. That's what I'm doing.
That level of consciousness at that level of detail, which is pretty detailed, but no more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a mystery, man. That localization of consciousness between the body and part of the spirit. There's like a what would you call it? There's a bandwidth. There's a bandwidth of resolution for consciousness.
Yes.
And why that band?
Or would you say, what if, okay, so like this bandwidth of resolution of consciousness you're talking about? All right, what if consciousness is a napkin ring that spins like this? And like there's, through it is stuff, data and stuff flows through your napkin ring of consciousness. And you can spin it more to the right or more to the left. And the frequency you're spinning at is it's like how fast, and it controls the aperture of how much flows through. Or you can spin real slow and it makes the aperture.
See, the social psychologists who studied language sort of cottoned on to this, because one of the things they realized was that short words, first of all, short words tend to be old words.
Yes.
So, because as language develops, words that are used a lot get more efficient. But the short words also map extraordinarily well onto the self-evident level of perception. And so, for example, a short word is cat, because a cat presents itself for some reason to our perception. The species cat doesn't.
Cat.
And the fur of the cat, in some sense, doesn't. It's the cat.
Yes.
And you can see that primary object level recognition.
Basic level.
Basic
Rush.
level. That's right.
Rush.
Yes.
Level.
Yes. And so you see that with babies, because they get doggy pretty damn fast. And that's because the language maps onto the primary domain of perception, that basic level perception, quite nicely. And that is associated with something like the natural bandwidth of consciousness.
Yeah.
Why the natural bandwidth got to be so small?
I would say that lines up with if Rush's explanation is, you're getting the best trade-off between differences between category and similarities within categories.
Right, and then the question is, what does best trade-off mean?
Exactly, and that's and for me, that's what that'd be a little bit of I guess a nuance I'd want to put onto the prioritization, because the prioritization sounds very much sort of like an imposition, whereas I think what we're talking about is something more like what Merleau-Ponty talked about when he talked about optimal gripping, right? So what's the
Oh, yeah, ladies. This is the part of the conversation where Vervaeke brings out his optimal grippers.
correct, distance to look at this? Well, it depends, because if I zoom in, I lose the gestalt. If I zoom out, I lose the detail.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do.
Exactly.
Yes, well, that's it. That's why I'm kind of attracted to pragmatism. It's like, well, to some degree, our theories of truth need to be embedded in the practicalities of action. And so, is that a grippable object that I can drink from? Well, I want my perception to match that problem.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I think that if you understand that the prioritization, let's say that you have heaven and earth. I'm going to use mythical categories, but so you have
That's fine.
you have heaven and earth, and that it's the way in which heaven meets earth is a mutual relationship, right? We always see it as a relationship of lovers, you could say. So it's not.
That's when Paul Van der Klay's talking about God number 1 and God number 2. And I don't know why he uses bathroom references for the Lord.
The prioritization isn't just about an imposition from above, but it's about the manner in which that which is above, let's say the hierarchy, is able to encounter the potential in which it's...
We were talking about that last night. So Jonathan made this funny joke last night. We were talking about Sam Harris, and Sam Harris has this...
Notice how he flaunts right in front of all of Jonathan's fanboys that, like, he was hanging out with them last night.
Line of argumentation where, and he used this on me, where I interpreted a biblical story and then he interpreted a recipe.
Yes.
And he said, well, look at all the interpretations. And that is a problem of
semiotic drift. Yes.
Well, it's also a problem of...
Ooh, semiotic drift.
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm
time you catch a break, and all those friends you made are total flakes, 'cause they're on their own, just like you. I remember back when we were young, running up the night into the sun, taking every chance we could to chase a dream. Circle stands, only if you're gonna take my hand. Let me paint a picture for you. You
Thanks to the artist formerly known as the guy who owes me a Piano Man song. For that tune there. We'll finish that out in a moment. But first, I would like to take this moment to the reason we do this here is because we get a hive mind chat. And I would like to bestow the wisdom thereof upon the rest of you only listening. Welcome. Thanks again for being here at this Faith in Humanity episode of the Grim Grizz live stream Virtually Not Alone Network event with Marty Stauffer. Talking about wide... Oh, I'll do it like I'll hide who said it. Sorry. Talking about wide apertures makes me uncomfortable. Why is that, Marty? These guys are epic leg crossers. His divine masculinity is showing. Let us make a bridge with strings in our hands and fingers. Gen X game. I'm not sure, Magic. Widening apertures just seems not that masculine. My gut tells me that they are making this up as they go. Thank you for giving me something to ponder, Marty. Oh, you're welcome, Magic. Lol, 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 lol. Spiritual Spaghetti from Fragmented Dude Person. Good to see you, Chad. R says, just sitting around talking about people. Oh, Jonathan made a funny haha. Gotta go by. See you, Lynn. Thank God Marty knows who and what he is. I don't know how much, but I know who I am. Trueness. Trueness.
It's the place where you belong. When we all cross lines. It sounds like this, so sing along. With the top down, the city.
Everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. Oh, you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing. And you've got to ride away. It's a good day for curing your ills. And it's a good day for paying your bills. So take a deep breath and throw away your pills. 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. 'Cause it's a good day from morning till night. 'Cause
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the special Faith in Humanity Virtually Not Alone Network production of a really long commentary video on the Deeper Yet Into the Weeds podcast with these three guys, because poor Pastor Paul's audience needs this, and he can't do it, so he's tagged me in this Twitter thing, and here I am doing it like a good boy.
This horizon of infinite possibility. There are multiple interpretive schemes.
Yes.
So Jonathan said he'd like to do a video where he shows that a recipe is actually necessarily embedded inside a mythological framework. And we started to talk about that because imagine, well, the recipe.
A recipe is naturally embodied inside a mythological framework. Let us break it so wide for you to see inside your own mind, and you'll find.
Recipe implies that you need to make an edible meal, that you want to make an edible meal, that you're going to serve it to family and friends, that's part of a kind of communion, that you think that's a good thing that's worth spending time on, that serves your family and friends, that's maybe nested in something like an ethic of service to the community. Like there's a whole...
Oh, but what about the contrary side? When you just pull some out of the mic or out of the freezer and throw it in the microwave and throw it to your child sitting in front of the television. What does that say about the familial communion? Eh?
Whole there's a whole network of purpose.
I would add more to that. There's all kinds of implicit assumptions that I can capture in a sequence of propositions, procedural skills that are not completely capturable in words, and that those procedures and skills can also map on to the particular virtues and skill, that people are bringing to it. Like, it's like
that part where it gets real fuzzy is the important part that maybe this corner isn't quite delivering on. Delivering on.
And that those procedures and skills can also map on to the particular virtues and skill, that people are bringing to it. Like,
Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Faith and Humanity live stream with Marty Stauffer.
Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
it's like most things can't be solved by a recipe. And yet, so a recipe is a significant cognitive cultural achievement. And we don't recognize and we tend to overgeneralize the things we think for which we can provide recipes. This is one of the,
right.
This is
That's
part of
an algorithm issue.
Yes, exactly. And so there's,
So all this recipe talk, I'm afraid, has made me think of what? Hi, yeah, you do deserve new set of savings throws after being this long, this deep into a very special episode of the Grim Grizz live stream, Faith in Humanity, where I have made a Reaper's call to my Reapers to make clips of things that restore faith in humanity and bring it to me because I need it so bad. Remember, everybody, the savings throws are against the mind control. If you have a 10 or higher, you take half damage from it. Your number is assigned by your choice of die, where you can choose survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Make that choice now. Your number is survivalists with a 16, socialists an 8. I hope you got your bonuses from participating in the Discord. Sophists, lovers of wisdom, a 2. This stuff is really going to get to you. Hearts, folks, with a 9. You just needed a little bonus. You probably, earned that by commenting on the video or something, right? Right?
Gave us that metaphor, though. They built it for us.
All right, this is actually good. Here, watch.
Giant sequoias are the largest.
See that? And Adam and Eve had to make a choice. See, this is why it isn't deterministic, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's the only way. Okay, so this was part of the information package. This is the only way that this could work with your choice intact, so that you can actively participate in this, right? Because that was the necessary component.
Now, you probably couldn't tell. She was talking about something completely different. But the way that what she said so perfectly applied to savings throws here on the Grim Grizz live stream, Faith in Humanity with Marty Stauffer, that's the serendipity engine that happens when you do it live instead of as a recording. And why? This Deeper Yet Into the Weeds commentary podcast. Stupid long edition. Faith in Humanity. I love you all. Or something.
There's lots. Yeah.
But even in the recipe itself, you will notice that the way in which we name things and the way in which we order things will be related to a normal prioritization, hierarchy prioritization. But if you're making chicken you'll have the chicken, and then you'll have the spice.
Oh, all right. Aha. For some reason, it says Elysium right here. So let's go to right before the commercial and see what they're talking about.
Extracting you from the central concern is an optimal way to
Yeah, exactly. You need to do that.
So what I'm hearing both of you say is the prioritization is really a multi-dimensional optimal gripping.
That's right.
We're concentrating up.
Okay, well then we can also.
After 17 minutes, we get to
gripping. Is the prioritization is really a multi-dimensional optimal gripping.
That's right.
We're concentrating up.
Okay.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
the prioritization is really a multi-dimensional optimal gripping where you don't know more than you need to know. You have a correct your compartmentalized knowledge is optimally gripped and fitted to the circumstance compartment you live in. So if like you're an apartment office drone guy, you know things that knowledge base you have is optimally fitted to being that. You don't have useless farmer skills or anything.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
What are you guys saying over here? Putcow, what did you miss? Why we widened the apertures and they talked about recipes and perception and prioritization for 17 minutes, and we just peaked on the multi-dimensional optimal grip. Everybody, let's take a moment and do a multi-dimensional optimal grip meditation, shall we? Shall we? No, you shouldn't, sir. Sir, how could you Sir, that would be almost wrong for you to do. To use somebody else's Lionsgate meditation music in the middle of your own meditation for optimal grip? What kind of person would do that? My mind grips the reality around me. Through the automated process of the hermeneutics, my perception and prioritization thereof becomes an optimal grip on reality in which I may function. I am at peace knowing I serve the will of the universe. An optimal grip of its loving hand. For I was a child, and it was a child in this kingdom by the sea. Weird, dude. Yeah, I know.
Okay, well then we can also expand on that to some degree, because multidimensional and optimal brings a lot of other concerns into it. So imagine that one of the principles, and Kant moved towards this with his theory of universal ethic in some sense, although I think I hesitate to criticize Kant, but I think that there's a deeper explanation for what he observed is, well, how should I treat you? Well, that's a complex question, but one of the constraints is, well, what if we meet 100 times? So we're going to establish an actual relationship. So however I conduct myself in the present moment has to.
I know, but Papa Peterson, I need to know what the hell happened with ThinkSpot. Like Wikipedia says some trash about it was what you did when you left Patron, and now it's just languishing over there. What is that? What's going on with it? I can't not bring it up. I know it's socially improper to bring it up with you, and that is why we'll never speak, but
be in accordance with a value hierarchy that takes into account the desirability of our mutual interrelationship into the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that produces a very serious series of, I would say, often intrinsic constraints. So I can't be too insulting. I can't be too unwelcoming. I have to offer you something approximating a true reciprocity. For the
I'm Marty Stauffer.
thing not to degenerate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and all of that, and I would say that also governs how you cook for someone if you actually want to make friends. So it's like treat other people as you would like them to treat you. Yeah. And it's pretty funny that that's the intrinsic ethic in a recipe. And so that's such a funny argument.
We'll get right back to Jonathan Pageau and John Vervaeke in just a moment. First, we'd like to tell you about Elysium.
Oh, the matter. The patented, the proven formulation that improves long-term brain health. Guys, are you excited about Elysium? Did you know that was a Matt Damon movie about how the poor people did not get proper medical treatment? Yeah, let's do business with them. After this short... No, wait, this is just going to trigger copyright shit. I know, but maybe it's a trailer, though. Let me...
I need to get to Elysium.
Yeah, it's a space station. You saw that Bezos left and whatever his face left, and now it's all here is their clones. Right?
Oh, I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I really am.
I think you're right, Marty. Marty, I think where are you? I think you're right when you say I'm pretty sure Elysium is a cloning facility. Yes, I was bearing down. That meditation, well, it was pretty intense, man. I don't normally do meditations with people. I felt moved. And now I desperately need filler while I go do something else. I've done Pet Cow. I've done Whimsical. Let's go with. Here's. I'm gonna go talk to Karen. Catch some of this. Does the monster group exist? And let me know what I should ask her about.
So he's talking there about these twins and how they can factor this number 111, which I think what they did was factor it down into 3 primes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But they weren't factoring it with any sort of book knowledge or understanding that anybody had taught them about, because they were very, very simple young boys who had no background at all and couldn't really study other things even because they were so simple. But when he asked them, how did you do this? They said, we could just see it as though it were there, right?
Yeah.
So when I was doing the research on this question that you brought up about the monster number, I thought, I wonder if the monster number is something like this construction out in mental space where, because I know another guy who's a physicist and a mathematician, and he says when he does math, he enters a world where he can see all the mathematical equations around him. He can see all the answers. It's as if he's in a mathematical palace. And I wonder if that's what those boys were experiencing.
Yeah, I think, what number you said? 111? 111. 3 times 37. The master breaks in 3. Yeah. I also remember reading, listening to a savant. This is how they call. There are 2 types. Let's say there is the savant that, for some reason, he has this mathematical affinity. And there is the case of autistic savants. That is, I think, is more relevant to the 2 that were listening to the Oliver Sacks on Paul van der Klee. So yeah, that guy, I don't remember his name. He was saying that when I see a number, or like for example pi, when I see the digits of pi, he can memorize like I don't know, thousands of digits of pi. And he explained it in the following manner. Like, for me, let's say every number from 0 to 9 is like a color. So when I want to see when I want to recall the digits of pi, I'm just looking at a movie. It's a color movie. Like, it goes from blue, it goes from red, and then he decodes that to the numbers. So this is how they have this visual perception, let's say.
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm Marty Stauffer.
Thanks, Marty and Karen and that guy for covering for me. I'm almost ready to get back to the super fun, super long commentary for Pastor Paul's people. But first, let me check in with the hive mind who say such things as, and what are you up to out? I do it like this. And what are you up to? Sorry. And what are you up to? What are you up to out there in the woods? I wish that Jordan would punctuate his thoughts with a good and proper Canadian. Eh? I wish Jordan would punctuate his thoughts with a good and proper Canadian. Eh? That grip moved me. I'm searching for my divine masculinity by using as many syllables per sentence as possible. It makes the words palpable, and the word is the flesh. The word is the one, and I feel it flowing through my mouth as I palpate it with my punctuations. I think trees contain many answers. Trees know all. The stars, the moon. I think Grimm is gripping right now. I think Grimm is gripping right now. I'm taking my mental energy and formulating an image of Grimm gripping right now, because I think to choose what I think, I prioritize my perceptions accordingly. And hi, Grimm. Sevilla. Oh, hi, Sevilla. Welcome. Here, since special appearance, the corner naming, it's Corner Cannon, by the way, Sevilla. Corner Cannon King in the house. Sevilla, I'm going to give you a special set of saving throws. Choose survival, social, wisdom, or heart. You certainly know by now how that works. Survivalist. If you chose survival, an 8, you need 2 bonus points to make it. Socialist, 15, you're doing all right. Sophist, lovers of wisdom, with a 6, and heart folks with a 4. I don't know. I honestly have a bonus versus heart saving throw, people. I don't know how to tell you that.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
Thanks to Steve Snell for putting that together, apparently.
Dependent narrative, and that's I'm still having a very much trouble with that, because we still have
So now back to the faith in humanity. Really long commentary video on the deeper yet into the weeds call out video with Pajo, Vervaeke, and Peterson. Thanks to Pastor Paul's shout out on Twitter. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Have the problem of if then, right? It's like,
but
I'm not trying to be 2 hours deep into the woods at this point, but the odds of me actually making it 2 hours deep in the woods are fairly slim. So let's see what serendipity brought us to, and then we'll go back to where we're supposed to be.
But I don't see how we escape from that.
But that's where I push on back on the trivialization. If then constitutes a narrative.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
If constitutes a narrative.
If constitutes.
Yeah, if does, because if.
What? If constitutes a narrative
has to be, well, if we want to cure disease, if we want to. So Jung believed that the spirit of science grew out of the alchemical fantasy. And so the alchemical fantasy was, we will find in material the solution to ill health, death, and privation. Well, yeah.
Special thanks to the Shadow Cabal of production executives who support me through either Patreon, Substack, or other means, who have provided to us this slogan, most original, marvelous revelations. Thanks for making this all possible. I mean, I could be playing video games right now. This is the Faith in Humanity live stream event with Marty Stauffer.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Remember, Embody, there is no agency. We want what's best for you.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Yeah, ill health, death, and privation. That's exactly it. And so Jung's point was...
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. Hold on.
Privation. The solution to ill health, death, and privation.
Once upon a time, there was an alchemical fantasy that within the material we would find the solution to death, ill health, and privation.
Well, yeah, ill health, death, and privation. That's exactly it. And so Jung's point was, without that impulse, which he regarded as a compensation to the hyper-spiritualization that Christianity imposed in the world in the first Christian ion, without that fantasy deeply embodied, manifesting itself out of embodied behavior and then out of image, we wouldn't have been, because Jung said, well, how do you get someone to look down a microscope at an amoeba for 10 hours? Because no animal will do that. And his notion was, well, we had to be gripped by something of a dream of intense motivational significance. And it was the dream that redemption could be found in analysis of the transformations of the material world.
Right, but...
Wow, man, that's super serendipitous because of this, where'd I look at it? Hold on, hold on. Because this one, The Harrowing of Hell by Bridges of Meaning.
Humanity's active
in the human being. Mm-hmm. And so there's a humanity to the cosmos, and science will talk about that in terms of the anthropic principle. But I think it's just there's a humanity to all of this work.
Right.
And that we were involved in making them so that they could in time shape and make us. So we made them beyond time, they made us. They're involved in our fashioning, just like we weren't their creators ex nihilo, God is.
Oh yeah. This is that bit where he goes nuts saying we made the angels. That's the redemption song part. I thought somewhere in there, the life is a redemption song.
But the motivating structure is not the same thing as the referent of what I'm talking about.
Right.
So
Well,
I might need narrative to do science, but we don't want to make the genetic fallacy that means that everything that science is referring to is a narrative, right?
Yeah,
The fact that'd be like, that's like saying everything I talk about, I have to speak in English. So reality is made out of English.
That does bring us to the postmodern conundrum, because they would insist that no, all the facts that science.
Oh boy, the postmodernists
derives are in some simple sense a narrative, right? And then that narrative is associated with the drive to power and domination. And so, yeah, we do have to be careful of that, because we'll fall right into that trap.
Right. So that's what. So if you think,
got a comment?
No, but
sorry.
Can I say this? I do think that a great manner in which modern science got developed is I think it is narrative. That is, there is on the one hand the desire to deliver, but on the other hand the desire to dominate is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before with Bacon.
I don't deny that.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. What about the narrative of manifest destiny? Like, okay, here we are, these monkeys who have evolved. What are we supposed to do? And science was like, figure it all out. And so that was the vehicle that we could pour our attentional energy toward the goal of being of service to humanity, was the narrative at play in this situation.
And so and so it doesn't take away
but the same motivation can drive people in doing mathematics.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same motivation can drive people doing music. So we don't want to say that's the essence of science or music or mathematics, because then we're removing the important differences.
You're afraid that we're collapsing everything.
Yes.
Into narrative. But I think that it's mostly about hierarchy in the sense of.
You're afraid that we're collapsing everything into narrative. Is there not also the datum product of narrative? And why is that not good enough?
In the sense that because we are embodied beings that are living in the world, that are living lives, then all that we do, all that we care about is part of that reality. And so even the nomological order, although I think I agree with you now, it's definitely not a narrative.
Right.
But it is embedded. That's why Jordan used the expression embedded in narrative.
Yes.
That is that it has to.
But isn't the reverse the case? Narrative depends on the presupposition that there is an ordered world in which it can take place.
Right. But the question is then, is that logos that constitutes the order, so to speak, if when you represent that, do you necessarily represent it as a narrative? And this is a deep question. I mean,
I'm proposing to you that the logos is that which allows the narrative order and the nomological order
to unite,
do what they're doing. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay, but that's fine.
Words are how you make stories. Provides narrative understanding of numerological.
I might wonder, does it extend to the narrative order and to the underlying ontological order as well?
The logos is both in the story and in the logic. We think about, just even follow the history of the word logos and watch how it goes in these two different directions with good reason.
Yeah. Well, so then the question, so you're objecting that the logos isn't a story, and that's so strange and so weird, because we could say that the West is kind of split on that, because in some sense, if you think of the development of the idea of the logos from the Greek and Enlightenment side, the answer would be there's no immediate insistence there that it's a narrative.
That's right.
But on the Judeo-Christian side, there's a pronounced insistence that it's a narrative.
Yes.
And our modern culture is actually a union of those two, right?
You've just described a couple episodes of the Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. That's exactly the argument I try to trace out.
And certainly the argument we're having right now, because Jonathan and I, in some sense, are making a case for the logos as narrative and embodied narrative, although you also point to the importance of embodiment.
I'm not rejecting
I know. Well, it's very difficult to differentiate this, right?
Yes.
And I do like the idea that there's a hierarchy of narrative with the ideal at the top, and then a hierarchy of nomological description. And
I'm Marty Stauffer. 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 I'm.
All right, boys, let's wrestle with what the logos is. It is the process, the logic process by which we understand the narrative, but not a narrative itself. It was with God before it all. And it was God before it all. It can't just... that's the only... the timelessness of it is its only narrative. It is the process... I don't know what these guys...
And that there's a correspondence between the hierarchies, because it does seem to me that, and I want to puzzle that out. One of the things Jung warned about, he thought there was an ethos in the religious story and to some degree in the alchemical story. And then when the scientific revolution hit, we blew up the nomological into this massively powerful thing. But our ethic was left in the same primitive form. And so now we're in danger because of that.
I think that's exactly right. I think I talk about this in terms of propositional tyranny and algorithmic tyranny.
Right.
And what we've done is we've reduced the logos inappropriately to logic. I strongly resist that move too.
Right. So you're okay. Well, I get your call.
Hi, I'm John Vervaeke, and I am an atheist defender of logos. What?
Caution, because I do believe that devolving everything down to the narrative per se does put us in the postmodern trap, which is, well, it's all, in some sense, well, it's all narrative, which is kind of what they claimed. And that's a problem, because then you can dispense with the corrective reality.
Exactly. So
Why does it all being narrative allow you to dispense with the corrective reality? Can you elucidate a little more on that?
I use a stereoscopic metaphor. I think of the logos as epitomized in logic, as in story, and then I try to look through both to a depth. That's what I try to think of as the logos.
Okay, tell me that again.
So you know how I have the left and right visual field, and then I look through them to depth perception.
Yeah.
There's logos as logic, there's logos as story, and I try to look through them to the depth behind them.
Yeah, that seems on the face of it quite fine. I mean, I'm still in a conundrum because...
Well, that seems on the face of it quite fine.
We already agreed that the selection of the facts and even the manifestation of the facts as perceptual objects is dependent on the imposition of a hierarchy of value. And so that tangles the damn narrative into it again. But there's something that's key to the idea of parallel hierarchies that I think is a conceptual way out of this.
And that's one of the key moves in Neoplatonism, exactly what you're puzzling over. How do these things, what explains their parallel, and what explains beyond the parallel, what I was trying to do with the stereoscopic, what explains their convergence?
Okay. What if it is something like, let's say I'm using the word person, but let's use the word consciousness.
Okay.
Right. Or so so St. Maximus has, this is why I like St. Maximus so much, right? Because St. Maximus, he has exactly what you're talking about in terms of this nomological order, this hierarchy of order. And he has a sense in which the laboratory for that is man, right? Man with a capital M. And so doesn't it kind of, one of the solutions to this, wouldn't it be this relevance realization that you're talking about? But the relevance realization happens ultimately happens in consciousness or something like consciousness or I mean,
I think it happens in intelligence because we have a lot of relevance realization going on below consciousness.
Okay.
You and I have talked about this.
Right,
before.
okay.
I think consciousness is a kind of intelligence for specific kinds of problems, ill-defined, novel, complexity.
That's the horizon, unpredictable horizon of the future.
Right. So, but let's say, and I think the issue is, yes, and what I'm sort of proposing.
And I think the issue is yes.
Is intelligibility is something like the way reality is realizing itself, and relevance realization is intelligence, and the good is the fact that we trust that the intelligence can track the intelligibility, and by doing that, it puts us in touch with the world. That's what I would say.
Is that a presupposition of faith? Is that a presupposition of the faith that was necessary before the manifestation of a real science?
Yes.
The willingness to act on that basis?
I think if you do not.
Whoa. I think that's what?
We trust that the intelligence can track the intelligibility. And by doing that, it puts us in touch with the world. That's what I would say.
Is that a presupposition of faith? Is that a presupposition of the faith that was necessary before the manifestation of a real science?
Yes.
The willingness to act on that basis?
I think if you do not, okay, so I'm not going to deny the importance of the Judeo-Christian story, okay? But I would also say that without Plato's argument about the good as the ongoing fulfillment of the promise that intelligibility tracks realness, you can't do science. And there's a reason why the scientific revolution is a return to Plato.
Wow. Yeah. All right, Paul. I'm sorry, man. I tried. I await your actual commentary. Thanks for coming, everybody. Magic, Bong, Sevilla, Marty. Palpable.
I'm Marty Stauffer.
Marty.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty Stauffer.
This has been Faith in Humanity.
I'm Marty Stauffer. I'm Marty.
This has been Faith in Humanity. Don't forget, guys. Don't forget, I got a Reaper call out for clips that restore your faith in humanity. Drop them off. You can drop them off in the Discord, in the community post I'm going to make tomorrow, or hit me up on Twitter with just clips of things that restore your faith in humanity, because I need a white pill so hard. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and good luck. No, stop it over here first.